In this lesson, we want to emphasize a little bit the aspect of using the right template file to start with when we're going to draw. So we're getting ready to talk a little bit about cable tray fittings and pipe fittings and stuff like that, and conduit fittings. So I was just kind of setting up for this lesson, and I wasn't really paying attention, so I thought maybe someone else might have the same problem. So I'm trying to set up some props with cable tray, so I can teach you the cable tray fitting tools, which isn't very complicated. So I went in and I just started a new project using the mechanical template file. So I'm in here, I'm in a floor plan mechanical, and all I want to do is draw some cable tray, and then I'm going to use the cable tray fitting tool. So I say, okay, cable tray. So I start the cable tray tool. I can pick my cable tray type off of here. I can set the width and the height, the dimensions of the cable tray. Let's drop the height down to be about 4 feet offset off of the level 1. And we'll leave the bend radius at 12 inches. And medium detail should be okay, and I pick on here and I go to drag and click, and I get a warning that none of the elements are visible in here. So I click out and I think, okay, well, what could be wrong? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit my light bulb to reveal hidden objects, and all of a sudden I'm going to see it in there. So there it is sitting in the background, okay? And the problem is that the category is turned off. So I can click on here and I can either say unhide the category, which would solve my problem, or I can pick my light bulb, go back here in front of the curtain in the regular visibility. And what I'm going to do is I can either type VV on the keyboard. Okay, VV on the keyboard goes into visibility graphics. Or I can go to my view tab and go to visibility graphics. Inside of here, I'll notice there it is. Cable tray is turned off, cable tray fittings. And that's because I always kind of think of cable tray as a mechanical item, but really it's an electrical item to hold conduit and stuff like that. So it's considered to be an electrical object, and that you'll see when you go to the system tab. It's under the electrical panel. So if I turn these guys on, it's the same thing as picking on it back in the pink area and saying unhide category. So now I have cable tray in there, and I can maybe even change my detail level, shows a center line, etc. I can type TL on the keyboard for thin lines, and it'll actually show me the thickness or the gauge of that. So here I go again. I think, okay, I'm ready to draw some cable tray props to do the fitting stuff. So I go back to my systems under the electrical panel. I pick on my cable tray, and I want to, create a little kind of roller coaster of cable tray to play with. So off I go again. I pick on here. I start to drag. I pick. Now I can see it, and now I've got that stop sign again. And usually it's because we're trying to make it too short and it doesn't have enough room to put that little fitting in there. But what's happening here is it doesn't matter where I go, and I'm picking as I go here, it is not letting me draw anything. Even if I go straight, it's not letting me pick a third point in any way, shape, or form. And the reason why is because I started with the mechanical template file. I'm going to hit escape here. And the mechanical template file doesn't come with any cable tray fittings. In order for this to make a bend, or even to transition or continue or go up or down, it needs to have the correct families, the fittings loaded in the project. And we started with a mechanical template file, which just so happens to not have cable tray fittings. It has the cable tray, but not the fittings. Okay, so we could go into our insert tab and we could go load family, and we could go to our cable tray and fittings, and we could grab a bunch of fittings, and we can use the shift button here and click all these, and we could definitely go open and load them in. That would bring them in, and that would solve the problem. But the real way to fix it is to actually start with the right template file. And a template file you can look up on our website. We have lots of videos on it. And really, a template file has your settings and all the stuff you plan on kind of using for that type of project. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to stop, drop, and roll. I'm going to close this off and say, okay, sorry, I don't need to save anything. That was kind of a little wasted exercise. So just to kind of a quick lesson there on the fact that some stuff like that stop sign would be annoying because you're like, it's not really telling you that there's no fittings loaded. It's just not letting you continue to draw, which even someone myself with experience, I was looking at that puzzled at first thinking, well, why won't it let me turn a corner or add a new piece of cable tray? So the answer, of course, would be to load those fittings, or what we'll do in our next lesson, which is to actually start with the electrical template file, which has all of our wonderful cable tray and fittings and conduit fittings all preloaded in the project. Once again, in the template file, don't feel free to go to our CAD Clips webpage and look up cable or look up template, and we have lots of lessons on that. So a template file is all template files really start from the same root, but then they are built up to draw certain things. An architectural template file has doors and windows. It doesn't have ducts and cables. Structural has beams and columns and joists and footings, but it doesn't have all the windows and doors, etc. Okay, so we'll come back in our next lesson and start again using the electrical template file.